It is 5:35. I call this meeting of the Hope Public School Board to order. The first item on our agenda is the minutes you have in front of you. We will entertain a motion regarding those minutes at this time.
Madam President, I move that minutes be accepted as printed.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Hamilton and a second by Ms. Moss. All of those in favor, let me know by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. The next item we have is the reports. You have before you had time to look at the, expenditures. Getting there. The expenditures, you've had a chance to look at those. We will entertain a motion regarding the expenditures at this time.
I move that we approve the expenditures. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Moss, a second by Ms. Dickinson. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. Next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Crossley.
So this month we are not going to have superintendent's awards because it is parent-teacher conferences tonight. So we are doing this tonight because Monday, our regularly scheduled time, is during spring break. So thank you for being here at this time. Just a few update points, I would say. Dates to be aware of. April the 11th is our Yerger Star Academy ribbon cutting, which will start at 10 o'clock. There'll be some student leadership organizations there. We're partnering with the Yerger Museum, the East program there with the 8th grade Star Academy. Very, it's this first year we've implemented the Star Academy. There's been some kinks we've worked out. They're really impressed with the hands-on learning there. The 13th is the Magnet Fair for rising 5th graders in our middle school area for magnet placement for next year. So our Burl Henry, Yerger, and HAPS will all have a booth at Hempstead Hall, and there'll be students that will come from rising 5th graders. It should be a good time. We've normed how those tables will be. There'll be student representation, teacher representation, some PR they'll be doing on the local campus level, and just talking about what they're offering with the Magnet Grant and just overall. So really excited about that. On the 17th, we're having our second 5-year strategic plan meeting, so I'd love it if you all were there. Before the board meeting, right? So that's the same day as board meeting on a regularly scheduled one on a Monday. So April 17th at 5 p.m. at Hempstead Hall. A similar setup to last time. We're going to invite parents, community members, anybody that wants to join. We're going to talk about a lot of things, including the millage idea, the millage campaign that will be coming later in the year. So it's the 5-year strategic plan, which now will include that as a portion of it. We're looking forward to physical plant planning for physical plant facilities upgrades in the future, employee compensation packages, in addition to our Magnet Grant and our student foundation. So really excited about that. Next, as a point for the future, probably on that April 17th meeting, we'll probably have an approval for the drainage project at the baseball field. So as you know, 2 years ago, I think right before I came on board, you guys agreed with the city to, I think, pump about $120,000 into the field. So we technically don't own the city field there, and there are upgrades with the field with the drainage that are making it really difficult to play on consistently. We believe we'll be able to get that corrected. However, that's probably going to be at least another $23,000 to $24,000 that we will have to put into the field. So there's a conversation that will have to be had between us and the city. Haven't done that yet. It's just came to my table yesterday and into today, but I wanted to give you a heads up that that's something that we're looking at just for future reference. A lot of good things to tout. So the Hope Bots, the HAPS robotics program, is going to World Championships in Dallas coming up soon. Did a fantastic job. You saw it before last month's meeting, or maybe the month before. They did a demonstration out before our board meeting. They're really doing a great job. In addition to that, the East program, all 3 of our currently active East programs were in East competition, East Con, this past this week, and we have received 3 awards for commendation. So all 3 of our programs received high marks. Didn't win the overall competition because we're just kind of getting started with what we're doing, but I'm really proud of our East program and where we're going. And so we're looking to expand that out even to the elementary level. So in the near future with the Magnet Grant and other programming, we should have a K-12 East program that will allow us to really lean into our STEM programming, our community service programming, and I think really just be a model for other districts around us. So I'm sure there's much more that I could tout and highlight. Our sports teams are doing well, as many of you know, our spring sports teams, but I think as for right now, I will cut off my superintendent's report unless you guys have any other comments or questions about what I just presented.
Do you have a time on the Magnet Fair on April 1st?
Yes, let me look at the calendar. I believe it's 5 to 7, but give me one moment. 5 to 7. Let me see, 13. Yes, ma'am, 5 to 7 at Hempstead Hall. And actually, if I may, I think it would be good to talk a little bit about the Arkansas Learns bill. If you would like to, this is probably the most appropriate time. There's no action to vote on. It's just information. So the legislature passed the Arkansas Learns bill. The governor signed it into law this month, so a couple weeks ago now. The Commissioner of Education came into town literally yesterday, and so met with the superintendents in the region and talked a lot about some of the components. So we didn't talk about school choice and teacher fair dismissal and homeschool and vouchers, any of those sorts of things. We talked about the financial portion of the salaries, which Misty and I, Ms. Flowers and I are actively working on right now. We believe it should not be a problem with us qualifying for that money to receive it from the state, so that should be fine. Everyone will be held harmless, and nobody's going to receive less money, right? Nobody's going to, even classified staff, we're committing to that. No one's going to receive less money on their contracts. Long term, we have to see how that's going to impact our overall salary schedules, and so I've notified both classified and certified PPC and CPPC teams. We will meet in the month of April to talk more specifically about that. Districts are doing different things, right? There's not a mandated salary schedule that we have to follow based on experience and educational levels. That gives us some flexibility to think about salary schedules. However, we want to do the most appropriate thing for our employees to honor their years of experience and to honor their expertise. More conversation will come on that in the future. The math and literacy standards are in the process of being rewritten, which means they will be more simplified, which ultimately I think will help us. State testing will shift, I believe, more similarly to how our old school ACTAP assessment used to be constructed, which I think could positively impact us overall. We'll see. There's also some discussion around value-added measures for teachers, which was concerning to me. I want to see how we roll that out over time to gauge how effective a teacher is being year to year using student data. I think there's a lot of things to be worked out on the state level, but we're both feet in it, and so I'll keep you aware of all the things that you need to be aware of. Obviously, you guys can read the newspaper too. There's plenty of things that are coming out. Soon, though, salary schedule conversations will be happening. I would imagine as early as the April 17th meeting, we will be probably looking at a salary schedule adoption that will be in alignment with the Arkansas Learns plan. There's a lot of ways to look at this long term, but we definitely want to get this right in the short term so that we can be set up for success in the future as well. So I'll answer any questions you have about anything that was presented or anything that you would like to discuss at this time.
Well, just clarify for me this money to increase the salary schedule. And I understood you say that we stand a really good chance to get some of that money that the state's going to put into this.
Correct.
Are they going to fund the entire amount if for whatever this really good chance is?
Right.
Or,
so they're not.
and then what happens if we don't?
That's a great question. So they're not taking into account extended days or indexes. So that's something we have to factor in on our level and how we look at indexes and how we look at payment and all of that. The base pay now will be $50, and then if you're already making $50, there's a $2,000 additional payment that you will receive. That, as long as we comply with the state regulations to have 80% funded, 80% of our budget be salary and benefits, then we'll be eligible for that money. I hate to even mention this. It's not a final number, but the tentative number is a little bit over $1.3 million. It's what we would be eligible for, which will allow us to bring our starting teacher pay to $50, and then allow us to pay those who are already making $50, $2,000 additional dollars. It also doesn't take into account federal fund amounts, so anything that comes out of federal funding will just be factored into the overall federal budget. I've talked to Ms. Jones, our federal coordinator and assistant superintendent. She feels confident that we'll be fine in maneuvering within our federal budget because we typically do have some wiggle room, and she does a great job managing that budget. So I actually, it's in some ways, it's very problematic, and in some ways can cause concern. I do think we will be fine on the financials on the front end, but it will take some reworking. So, working with members of the PPC, working with members of the CPPC in the very near future to figure that out. One thing that I will mention, though, classified personnel. The legislature has not determined an amount, and I'm aware of it at least. I don't believe they have. It may be tomorrow, but the classified amount per pupil in the matrix, the funding matrix. So there's not been any increase that has taken into account raises or increased payments for classified staff members. There may be, I think there's been good conversation about that in the legislature this year. There may very well be an increase, but I haven't seen it yet, right? And so I told the CPPC members that this past week, we have to wait and see what that amount is before we can see what our amount would be for potentially any additional compensation for classified on the salary schedule. But we're monitoring it very closely. I'm sure I'll be working on this tomorrow and even some on spring break and be ready to discuss it with the business office the week of the 27th.
But potentially they may not add a drop to
Potentially.
the classified.
Potentially, but I do think the political will is there to do something. I don't know exactly what amount it will be. But we'll see. Never can count your chickens before they hatch. So.
When are we going to have, in a ballpark, when are we going to have the bottom line, what's going to come out of our coffers?
Well, that's what the budget will be for when we're looking at the salary schedule. So before we create our salary schedule, that's what the analysis will do. So we'll do the analysis of what we can afford. And then a lot of districts are doing a hold harmless year where they are not extending their expenses out much more than they already are this year for their liabilities on salaries and benefits, to basically give us a year to see what the new baseline is going to be. So the state is saying that the new allocations is not going to change year to year like the teacher equalization funds do, because they won't need to, because they're using the 2022, 2023 numbers of staffing to indicate how much money that you would be eligible for on an ongoing basis, because at that point everybody would be at the $50,000 mark and you wouldn't need additional shifts in money year to year. If we did need additional funds, I did learn yesterday that we could apply for a waiver, but I really don't think that will happen. And I'm pretty cautious in thinking about that. So we're going to work the numbers and make them work. And then if we figure out that we can, which I don't think will be the case, then we will immediately notify the Department of Education. But I think we will be able to work a salary schedule where teachers, I know the teachers receive the mandated increase they're going to have go to the mandated level of starting teacher salary. I'm just not sure the amount that we'll be able to increase across the board with the LEARNS Act. So I know part of the conversation was LEARNS Act money will increase teachers overall. However, to the degree that that's going to happen across the board for experienced teachers and folks with advanced degrees or folks that have been in it for a long, long time, we can't be certain of that because it's based on local assessment value, property taxes, and all that. So there's still a disparity in property taxes from one area of the state to the other, like there currently is now, because education is funded on local property tax, as you all know. So I'm knee deep in it, so I'll answer. Any questions you wanna talk about, I'm here.
Okay, moving on. We have, under new business, we have the 2023-2024 school calendar.
All right, so there was two options presented. The whole entire PPC worked on this. Tony Hooker finalized this in the actual formatting that it's in now. We have professional development days at the beginning of the year and professional development days throughout the year. We have 2 days for professional development during the year. We look to get out in a timely fashion with days for inclement weather extending to the 5th of June. We probably won't have inclement weather days this year, which is great. We've had them previously. COVID and other things have happened, but all things being equal, we should be able to get out right before, or excuse me, right after Memorial Day.
For clarification, this calendar and the option 2 was both presented to the personnel policy, and they chose this option.
It was created with the personnel. There was multiple options. There was three or four options to start. It got chipped down to 2 options, and then the entire staff voted. And so this is the option that the entire staff voted on. So not just the PPC members, but all staff members voted on this, and this is the option that won out.
And you still don't know why May the 3rd is the...
Yeah, I'm looking at that, and I don't know if that's an oversight on our part or not. We have a member of the PPC, I'm trying to put you on the spot. We have a member of the PPC in here. May 3rd looks like an off day right here. Do you know why? It's a Friday.
Maybe a flex day.
Yeah, it says campus closed though on this.
Maybe on one of our flex days. May 3rd.
Yes, sir.
It's on a Friday.
I think that was the flex day.
I'm sure I could get an answer to that pretty quickly.
I was just curious.
If there's modification,
Time.
right, if there's modification that needs to happen, we can bring it back in short order next month. It wouldn't be any issue, but I'll check on that and get an answer to the board on that.
I'm sure the kids and teachers won't mind.
Yeah, well, there's the professional development days we built in were pretty strategic, which I think are pretty smart. So there'll be 2 times during the year where students will have extended weekends, and teachers will come in on one of those days and have district-wide professional development. We just haven't had opportunities this year to really do that, and really not too many last year, even though we had those shorter days once a month. There are a lot of standards, alignment conversations, essential standards work, creating assessments, active shooter training. These are all things during the course of the year that you would like to be able to do when things come up, or the need is there that we haven't been able to do on contract time that we will be able to do next school year. So we feel better about that from a district perspective.
Okay, if no further questions, we will entertain a motion regarding the school calendar.
I'll make a motion to accept the school calendar as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Powers, second by Mr. Courtney. All of those in favor, let it be known by show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. The next thing we have is the classified additional compensation.
All right, so last month we approved a plan for, months ago really, but finalized the CSL amount for certified members. So we had the grant, the CSL is a federal grant, where we can apply that to teachers for retention bonuses of somewhere around the amount of $3,200 for people who were like a sign-on bonus of around $3,100, and felt really good about that. Well, through the course of that conversation, inevitably the conversation about classified staff members comes up. And so we literally cannot afford a $3,100 bonus for classified staff members, but we looked at our budget, and we looked at what we could afford in the ARP plan, and saw that a $1,500 amount fits within our budget. So what we did was we reworked portions of our ARP plan that had to deal with technology and maintenance, and found a way. Some things are being reimbursed, which offsets the cost anyway from a federal perspective. So we were able to do a plan to be able to take care of our classified staff members as well. And so if you guys approve today, classified staff members will be eligible for a $1,500 bonus in the April pay period, with similar conditions of getting with the business office on how they want that to be paid out, whether on one check or on a separate check, just like classified or certified did this past cycle. So just an opportunity to take care of our classified employees like we're taking care of our certified employees. That's the presentation today.
Any questions? If no questions, we will entertain a motion.
Go ahead. I will make a motion to accept the additional classified compensation presented to the board.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Powers, a second by Ms. Moss. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. All right, now we have our ALE MOU.
All right, so I made you aware last month that the Archford Co-op is pulling out of our district, not because they don't like us, but because we are not inside their co-op region and they're kind of solidifying how they're doing support. So in this whole process, I came to learn that our ALE program at CATS is considered to be one of Archford's better ALE programs with how we utilize staff and how we utilize students. There's been an uptick in the last 2 years with how we've utilized staff members and students there with the hub and how we utilize the hub and maxing out certain spaces when the need arises. So initially, this is a longer point, but initially there was a deficit we were running on the ALE, and a lot of people were telling me about it. I got it. We're losing money on ALE. We're losing money on, and so I investigated, and they were exactly right. So we were losing probably $230,000 on ALE every year because you get funding for an ALE student, a student who's in ALE, and a $4,000 additional clip. So if a student's a full-time student in ALE, you get the foundation funding amount plus $4,000. And so the thought is if you have enough students and you staff appropriately, then you'll be able to offset your costs and it won't be really an additional cost to the district. So that's the ideal. They've capped the amount that you can recoup now on the state level at $315,000. Our MOU is $397,000. So instead of running a $200,000 deficit, and this year I think it'll only be $80,000, so we're actually really being efficient. It'll be, you know, what's the differential there? Is that 70? What's the math on that? 397 minus 315. What's the math?
Teachers, there's several of them.
82,000.
Right, so that's the amount of money that we'll run just as a cost to run our program. We've talked with Dawson Co-op. We've talked to other providers as well. Dawson Co-op is willing to take us on. The program description is due by the end of the month. Dawson has that ready to go because they run a bunch of different ones. Some of the leadership, and this is public knowledge now, but some of the leadership that was at Archford is transitioning over to Dawson, which gives me even more confidence that we'll be able to continue doing ALE well and having the hub program. There's some change in how we're going to have to do staffing, or not even staffing, just how we're going to have to do students set up with the hub program and the traditional ALE program. So we'll have flex classrooms next year or different time periods during the week when hub students will come in. Functionally, that won't change very much for us or for you, but I'm just giving you like how we've crunched the numbers to keep the same cost that we have for this year into next year. As a point of focus, though, we could have added additional staff members, which raised the cost in this MOU. I chose not to do that in the initial MOU because we will offset the support with some of our staff members who are currently working in the Hope School District who are willing and want to be more of a part of that program. So we would take on that cost anyway, but staff members will be supporting CATS in a little bit of a different way. So the basic cost proposal from Dawson stays at $397,000. So I believe that price is fair market fine. When you look at how we're going to have to roll out ALE next year, if we took it on as a district, the cost for us to run it is going to be somewhere around $483,000. So, you know, because they changed the way the instruction is rolled out for hub students and for what they call synchronous instruction, which is during the same time, we have to have teachers who are able to do that and designated to do that, and the scheduling would have to work, and it would create a large issue within our system to take it back under our wing. So all that being said, the recommendation is to go with the Dawson Co-op. The MOU is there, ready to be signed and move forward. They've been great support with our administration so far. I've talked to the CATS teachers and the leader over there. They feel comfortable with that transition, and so I say we move forward and continue to have a great LE program. Any questions? A lot of words with that, but I just want to give you all the context that I'm dealing with.
Okay, if no questions, we will entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move that we accept the memorandum of understanding for Dawson Education Co-op.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Hamilton, a second by Ms. Dickinson. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. The next thing we have is our home to school advisor magnet position.
All right, so it's a little bit out of order in my packet, so let me find this. So I took this to the CPPC last week. We modified in CPPC the compensation amount, reports to language, the compensation amount, and some language later on job duties. But that came out of CPPC committee. They agreed. So coming to you with this. This is what we discussed within the magnet grant. So this is one of the classified positions inside the magnet grant. So last time we posted certified positions. Right after we leave today, I would love to be able to post this position so over spring break, anybody that's looking for a job can know that Hope Public Schools is a great place to be and could apply. So this is essentially a campus social worker contract. So we added 2 campus social workers last year. This is essentially what that role is, but expands out to do more home to school connection, especially in the early grades. Being bilingual is not a prerequisite, but we are looking for at least one person who is bilingual who could fill that role. I don't know if we'll find it or not, but we're looking for it because we know how important, with 33% of our population having Spanish spoken at home pretty frequently, we want to be able to speak to our students consistently. So coming out of CPPC, coming through to you with modified language, feel good about it and will be willing to post as early as today. I'm here to answer any questions.
Under number 1 there, it says bachelor's degree.
Correct.
But I thought you said it was classified.
Right, so classified positions are it's social work, right? So you have to have a degree in a social work or related field. So that would be a bachelor's degree. So all of our social workers have the same.
Okay.
It's a very similar structure to our social workers.
Any other questions? If no questions, we'll entertain a motion.
And this, again, paid for fully with grant funds.
Exactly, this, on the school advisor, that we should be voting on.
Yes, ma'am.
And I like to make a motion that we accept the mission.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Johnson, a second by Mr. Hamilton. All those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. The next thing we have is our library quotes.
Okay, so this is something we've been working on for, here's Maurice Henry, he's in here. 3 months we've been working on this, 2 months we've been working on this, library quote. All right, finally got something confirmed today. So this was a late addition, but something we've been working on for a while. This is paid for within our magnet grant. So every campus has a curb appeal or budget that's specific to their physical needs that aren't building a new, tearing down walls or building something new. It's about the physical layout of the school. The elementary school had the library media area as an area that they've highlighted in their first year and their second year budget. So what we did was we looked at what they wanted over there and got with three different quotes. They do have, just to be real with you, they'd have older bookshelves that are not really conducive for collaboration in the way that we would like. It looks very, even though there's been some modifications over the years, it does seem very old school in how a library looks. So this will allow for flexible seating. This will allow for more appropriate book shelving for students to peruse and look at books. That flexible seating, I think, is going to be beautiful. There's been some similar updates made at other magnet campuses or new libraries that have been built, and it just adds a whole lot to the library, to learning environment, and to, in some ways, it's not outside curb appeal, but it's inside appeal as people go through the library media area. So we have 3 different quotes here. The SOPA quote is the one that's being recommended. They do all the installation. It is $80,000 or $79,000. That is actually within the budget. So you got to keep in mind, Clinton has $600 and something thousand every year to spend with magnet funds. And that's something I want you guys to kind of get used to as we go throughout this. You will see things like this and other items that you're like, can we afford this? And the answer is actually yes, because it's inside of this magnet grant that has hundreds of thousands of dollars per campus. This is the first big purchase that I think we'll have inside of the magnet fund, so I just wanted you to kind of be aware of that as we move forward. So there's 3 different quotes. This one comes in actually, I believe, at the best price, in addition to being exactly what we wanted. There's one quote that came in at $117,000 that essentially does the same thing that this $79,000 quote comes in at. It's just a different company. Again, the recommendation is for the $79,000 quote from SOPA for library upgrades paid for with magnet funds.
Is this for both libraries?
Right. So right now we're utilizing one library area truly as a library. We have been in constant talks about that second space. So we actually have library upgrade money and upgrade money of physical plant areas for seating and shelving and different things throughout the grant. So actually, we have $40,000 additional dollars next year after October 1 that we could look at. There's no plan right now at the elementary school for how that space will be utilized as flexible seating space yet. So there's a very clear plan on this first side. There could be some additional down the road, but as of right now, this is the only upgrade plan for the library area. But that's a great space to utilize. Right now it's storage and meeting space sometimes, and I think we could utilize that space better.
Let me ask a question. I noticed here on some notes where it says that the vendor does not have everything needed and does not offer installation. Or would it be better to get someone that offers everything?
Yes.
And offer installation?
That's exactly right. So I believe you're looking, so we have 3 quotes in here. We gave you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think you'll read the ugly one. So we're looking at the submitting this quote, unless I'm missing something, which I hope I'm not. So submitting this quote for approval is the one on top. That's the one
Okay,
that.
that's the one that you want to submit.
Yes, ma'am. But I gave you the other ones because it is over our procurement amount. And I wanted you to see that we have multiple bids for the library.
Okay.
But you're exactly right. We wouldn't be spending that kind of money if we wouldn't have somebody help assemble and put together.
So this one's just for Clinton property.
This one is just for Clinton Primary. There will be like curb appeal purchases, upgrades to campuses, materials and supplies that will all be above that procurement threshold as we move forward. After we hire the magnet directors, magnet coordinators, and start working through that, more and more of these will come through. This is just the first big one that you're seeing related to magnet funds right now. So I thought it was worth discussing.
We just have 2 librarians certified.
Correct.
Okay, if no further questions, we will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept the, there you go, SOPA of $79,900.65.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Courtney, second by Mr. Hamilton. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously.
Can I mention a point on that?
Yes.
This is funny and interesting. This is just for your knowledge. So when we did carpet there years ago, we didn't do carpet everywhere technically. So underneath the bookshelves, there is no carpet. So what we're going to have to do carpet upgrades for this fiscal plan. Mr. Henry and I are already talking about it. That will not be above the procurement amount. That's something that we can do within the scope of the next month, but it'll probably be a couple $1,000s, I'd imagine, to do new carpet. And we believe that also should be able to be covered within the grant, but even if not, we're fine with that. But we believe that should be able to be covered in the grant because it's a necessary cost for upgrades. So, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like there's no carpet underneath the bookshelves. So.
Will this be done this summer?
Right, that's exactly right. So that's why we're doing it now instead of waiting until the end of the year. We're hoping that everything will be in and ready by the time students leave for summer. Then we'll be able to get it up and running. Hopefully by the time first session for summer is getting close to being done.
Okay, the next thing we have is the personnel packet.
There's a SAU MOU on there.
Did I miss it? Oh, yep, I sure did.
Okay, so
The SAU MOU.
SAU MOU. So the SAU MOU is, I think we've got some mule riders in here, maybe potentially. They partnered with us last year for a program where we hired on residency teachers. We're formalizing that partnership. So we're one of, I think
take, after we sign today, 3 or 4 districts that will be doing this innovative program. They have received grant funds from the state because of the job they've been doing in preparing teachers to get ready and having their residency. So basically, this will look like us partnering with SAU, then having teachers who are entering into their internship and like last legs of their internship phases. They'll work with us as paraprofessionals with master teachers, and they'll get in the system with us, and we'll have an MOU with them to potentially stay with us after that. So this is just an attempt to assist with any teacher shortage that exists just nationally, regionally. This gives us a formalized partner to be able to pull the teachers from and be a good placement site for internship teachers. They're very enthusiastic about partnering with us. We're very enthusiastic about partnering with them. I was just there 2 weeks ago talking about this, and they feel very confident that we'll be a model site in no time. So I present to you the MOU for partnership with SAU for specifically teacher residency. I'm trying to use that like more specific language for teacher residency.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I couldn't really figure it out from reading it, but so this would be taking the SAU students are like in their last year or
Right.
last semester
Right.
to do, to when they,
And they'll be able to work with us more as paraprofessionals and stay with us during that time, get paid. And then we'll have mentor teachers who are getting them ready to teach, all while they're passing their praxis. So they'll have a Hope School District teacher paired with them who's helping them get ready. So for example, every year at elementary school, we'll have 4 or 5 teacher openings because the school is just so big. So then you'll have a teacher who's about to graduate from SAU. They'll have a mentor teacher that's a Hope Public School teacher who will be mentoring them along the way. The mentor teacher will be getting paid an amount. The internship teacher will be getting paid basically paraprofessional pay. And then once they graduate, they'll be able to be hired on with us as a teacher and have that built-in mentor with them, and just kind of streamlines that process. It takes the guesswork out of who you're going to get. We don't have to hire them. I mean, if we don't think they'll be a good fit for us, we don't have to hire them. But that's what that partnership's about. We'll get to interview them. We'll get to be a part of that process before they even get placed with us. So.
If I'm in order, I move that we approve or accept the partnership with Southern Arkansas University for teacher residency.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Moss, a second by Ms. Johnson. All of those in favor, let me know by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. Now we have personnel.
All right, so you can decide if you want to go into executive session for personnel or not. This one is relatively straightforward. I can speak about it generally on the first page. There was one name that was added, so I physically put one in your packet that I printed out for you. Ms. Eva printed out for you today. There's one name that was added as a resignation. Anything that was hired is going to be for after-school boost program. You'll see a lot of names there for Clinton. You'll see a footnote under the second page of hires that says they will only use the number of teachers needed for the groupings, and so they'll finalize those after spring break. It is not anticipated that all those teachers will be needed. It's just clarifying that they could if the need for numbers arose. We're looking at our staffing model for this, so 10 to 12 students is the staffing model. We're not going to have one teacher for one student just to have an after-school teacher there, right? We're looking at recommended numbers for a recommended number of teachers. We're being very mindful of that. And I can assure you that Ms. Portia Jones is monitoring that very closely. So I feel very confident in that and just wanted to present that to you. Because we've done that in the past. We've presented the BOOST program, after-school summer program teachers. So I'm just presenting those to you as well in the packet.
I'm going to ask that we adjourn into executive session to discuss personnel.
Okay, we will move into executive session to discuss personnel. We will come back into open session as soon as our discussion is over. Okay, we are back in open session after going into executive session to discuss personnel. We will entertain a motion regarding the personnel packet at this time.
Madam President, I move we accept personnel package as listed.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Hamilton, a second by Ms. Dickinson. All of those in favor, let me know by show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. All right, we will now move to a student hearing.
Yes, so we have a closed student hearing. So if you are not a part of that, please exit at this time. It's a closed student hearing, so it'll just be representatives and board and myself.
All right, we are back in open session. Reminder, since we are in open session and this is being live streamed, to be respectful and courteous of not using our students' names or anything of that nature, just to give the family some privacy. But we will entertain a motion regarding the recommendation of Dr. Crossley at this time.
Madam Chairman, I will make the motion that we accept Dr. Crossley's advisement and accept it as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Powers, a second by Mr. Courtney. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. All motion carries unanimously. Dr. Crossley will get in contact with the family about what their options are, what their next steps will look like for your student, and we wish them all the best of the success that those steps are designed to help them continue with their education, to stay on track at the right pace to graduate and get the services that they need. So you can be in contact. He will be in contact with your or his office will be in contact with you in the next day or so.
Yeah, Monday the 27th, we'll set that up. And soon as spring break, we come back in spring break.
There is nothing else before, we have a second student hearing. Sorry. We have a second student hearing. That student is not in attendance.
I would like to go in executive session. I want to ask a question about this.
Yes, it'll be closed.
Yes, so we will go into executive session to discuss the second student hearing at this time. Okay, we are back in open session regarding, from closed session regarding a student hearing. Board, you have the option to accept Dr. Crossley's motion, recommendation. You have the opportunity to accept, reject, or modify, and we will entertain a motion regarding that student hearing at this time.
Madam President, I make a motion to modify the superintendent's recommendation and expel the student for 1 calendar year from today's date, with educational services being provided through Connect Care program.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Courtney, a second by Mr. Powers. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. There's nothing further before the board. We stand adjourned.